Joining us right now is managing partner at Alchemist Accelerator, Ravi Belani. I understand you guys focus on enterprise startups, and you're here at Tiecon. So, how is it going? Have you found any interesting startups that might pique your interest?
Oh, I think there's several. I mean, I think it's always inspiring coming because I also feel like Tiecon's like a little India. You get everything. And it's an assault on your senses. It's like so big. There's so many things that are happening, and it's really like the whole universe is here. So we have met with several founders that we think are building phenomenal companies, and I know that there's even more that we didn't even meet with that hopefully we got exposed to that are, and there are ideas in people's heads that where the next big companies are going to emerge.
Are there any particular sectors you tend to focus on when you're talking about enterprise startups?
We pride ourselves on quality, so we're looking for just the top entrepreneurs who are monetizing from enterprises. So we are agnostic in terms of functional areas or where you are in the stack. We fund everything from platforms to services to applications and across a wide range of industries. Everything from collaboration and search to IoT to fintech to healthcare. Everything. We're really focused on teams. So we're looking for the top teams that are going after really big markets, and we know that the best ideas are going to be ones that don't fit into spaces that we preconceive of today. So we don't artificially constrain ourselves in terms of looking at spaces. We push our entrepreneurs also to think about even more boldly about other spaces to go after too.
That's rather unusual in your world, isn't it? Typically, funds are very, focused on either a faculty or a particular space, and then they find tertiary spaces in between. Why the choice to work this way?
Well, I think we also are focused in some senses, in the sense that we only do enterprise monetizing companies. We're not doing pure consumer apps, and we're focused on talent. But the thing that's different about Alchemist is that we're dealing with companies at the very, very early stages, at the seed stages. So at those stages, the most important thing is the team, because things will change very quickly. So we put more weight on the teams than on the ideas or the current manifestation of the ideas.
I know you've attended the conference for a day and a half. Big keynote yesterday and today with Shantanu Ryan, Sanjay Mehrotra, and there's sort of a common theme. Everyone's talking just really a lot about IoT and cloud and the collaboration there, and the security space has gotten really, really interesting. I think there are wide gaps in the security space between these two industries actually collaborating and reaching. I think irrespective of whether or not security companies come about, these sectors will continue to grow. Is that something that's of interest or focus for you folks?
Oh yeah, it's a huge interest for us. So we have, our backers are many of the top enterprise VCs and then many of the top technology companies. So we're funded by Cisco, Khosla Ventures, Mayfield, DFJ, Foundation, Siemens, Salesforce. So IoT, we have a whole track just dedicated to IoT. The chair of that track is Tim Chu, who's a professor in the CS department at Stanford, and he's written this book called Precision, which is about all the current use cases on IoT. So IoT is a core focus of ours. We think IoT is bigger than everything that's happened in SaaS. As big as SaaS was in terms of the enterprise space, we think that's just going to be a fraction of what's going to happen with IoT. We think it's the biggest shift of any technology platform that we've seen in tech. And then security is always a perennial top area of interest.
So the prediction is that IoT is going to grow up to about 300 billion as an industry by 2020. Do you expect it to be bigger or higher than that or lesser than that?
Oh, I think it's going to be at least that. And I think part of it is that these terms, when we start out, we're calling something IoT, and then what does that actually mean? Gets fleshed out as things get more granular. It's bigger than that because the most exciting opportunities for IoT are actually new business models that haven't emerged. So sometimes when they come up with these $300 billion market sizes, what you're doing is you're classifying it based on technology. You're saying these are emerging use cases that we think are going to be needed. But the reason why IoT is actually is exciting is not because of the technology, it's because of the business models. Just like SaaS didn't really change software, but it changed how you paid for software. You could suddenly pay for things on a monthly basis instead of upfront on a license. What's really exciting about IoT is that now you can actually pay for things based on usage. So the first version of IoT is basically plumbing, just getting things to work together, security. But the real huge opportunities within IoT are suddenly I can buy a Boeing engine and I can pay for it based on how much I use it. which I couldn't have done before because we didn't have the analytics around that. Suddenly you can have tons of distributed technologies where I could be an energy worker in India and I can download software to enable a grid system in India, which just by having basic parts be put into place. So those innovations on the business models and how people consume tech is really where the big markets are, and they're bigger than what people are forecasting now because they're market creating opportunities. They're going to be creating new markets that don't even exist today.
Now, speaking of India, there are tons of state governments here actually exhibiting and talking about smart cities, smart villages. Is that a space you guys are looking into?
Yes, very much so. So and in the IoT space, civic opportunities is a big one. I just saw the Kerala government was here before we came here, and we're very excited about smart cities because it's really at the intersection of three different spaces which have to come together. It's the consumer, it's government, and it's industry. And at those nexus points, you have the most exciting opportunities. So obviously from a social impact perspective, in terms of thinking about our air, our water, and energy, all the smart cities are impacting on all three of those. But it's even bigger than that because you can start to change or transform notions of what it means to be a consumer and how to interact with things that industries traditionally handled in the past.
Education is one field that hasn't really truly been disrupted. The closest thing to disruption we've seen in this field has been the Khan Academy. What do you see the potential of that particular field, and is that something you guys are also looking into?
It is. We funded EdTech. We think that EdTech actually has been disrupted a little bit, and we think it's going to be disrupted a lot more. So my other job is that I'm a teacher at Stanford. I teach entrepreneurship in the engineering school at Stanford, and so I'm very interested in what's transforming in the EdTech space. You know, we have seen the rise of MOOCs, of massively online communities of courses that are that have come to fruition. There's at least 3 platforms now that Stanford uses. We think that trend towards democratizing education is going to increase, and the role of the universities are shifting and transforming. Education is a hard space, but it's also a space that is ripe for disruption, both because devices now are changing how education's being taught. You have flipped classroom models. You have tablets now that are coming in, which can give more information to students before they were limited. We love tech and EdTech because you can now get access to the top education no matter what your background is or where you're from. And now there are new models about how do you service the broad pyramid instead of just sort of the elite few, and right. That's really exciting.
From Coursera to EdTech and lynda.com, it's endless, and I think the next generation is really focusing on this MOOC generation is what I call them. But another interesting space has been the intersection of health and IoT. Again, I'm curious to know where you guys stand here, and is that something, again, you are looking into? It
is. We're very passionate about that. We have a company called Semper Health, which is doing very well in our portfolio right now, which is doing wearables and personalized medicine. So one of the beautiful things right now about IoT and health is it's manifesting in a lot of different ways. On the consumer level, it's wearables, where suddenly right now, if you think about how insurance works, yeah, there you go. You have your smartwatch there, but if you look at how much I pay for insurance versus my brother, who's a lot healthier than me, right now, the way that we're doing the way that we do health and insurance in general is incredibly backwards, and I think 10 years from now, we're going to look back and look at how crude it is. The way that we're proxying what insurance premiums should be, one, it's based on crude metrics on age and gender, whereas we're not taking into account all the attributes which are more accurate about predicting health, because it's a difficult problem. And wearables, we have a company called Semper Health, for example, that will, based on your behavior, it will reward you based on pricing for your drugs and your insurance plans, so that if you are more physically active, you shouldn't have to pay as much as somebody who's less physically active and is more of a threat to the healthcare system. So personalized insurance and wearables, we think, is a huge opportunity. We think health tech in general is all the economics of the health industry are screwed up. You're basically rewarded you're being compensated for getting reimbursed based on, and the whole industry is rewarded for doing procedures. It's not really rewarded to maintain your health. So in an ideal world, the real way that the healthcare system would work is that it would make money if you didn't get sick. And today you make the healthcare industry gets money when you get sick so that they can charge for reimbursements for different procedures. Transforming that into a preventative model where we have analytics to predict health is what's going to be required to build an economic incentive model around that, and that's what the wearables all do. And so we're very bullish on that. We've funded quite a few health tech companies already that are extending what it means to be a hospital. Can you do things from your mobile device? What it means in terms of being a big data health tech company, and we are actually building a track around health tech right now.
That was Ravi Belani, managing partner of Alchemist Accelerators.